is up, you guys? Film fan 0599 here again, and welcome back to Retrospect. Yes, we've got another installment of Retrospect to do, and today's edition of Retrospect is going to be a very, and I mean very special one, because we're going to be talking about the Toy Story trilogy. Toy Story 4 is coming up pretty soon, and I really want to talk about the original three movies, because the original three movies are arguably my favorite films of all time. I love these movies to death. It's just a perfect trilogy, in my opinion. It's the perfect trilogy, in my humble opinion, and just these movies just define what I love about films and just what I love about life in general, to be honest with you. Like, I just love these films to death. They've been with me since the beginning of my life. Well, the first two, and then the third one came in later on, but you get the point I'm trying to make here. So just these movies have been with me forever, and I feel like since the fourth installment's coming out, that's my most anticipated movie of the whole year, I figured we'd go back and talk about these first three movies. So before we get into it, I will be talking about spoilers for all three of these films. So if you have not seen them, for one, you need to rethink what you're doing with your life. Two, you need to go out and see them. And three, I will recommend not watching this video, because I will be talking about some key details that do happen in all three of these movies. So, yeah, with that out of the way, let's get into it. Let's first start off with the one that did start it all. So, back in the early 90s, Disney was dominating with their Disney Renaissance and a lot of their animated films. The year prior to Toy Story, The Lion King came out, and Disney was just taking over everything. This renaissance that they were having with their animated films was just ginormous, and it was huge. But a little studio at the time that was just making a bunch of shorts wanted to do something big. Do something monumental that would change the face of animation as we know it to this day. They want to create the first 3D, fully 3D I should add, animated feature, and that of course was the birth of Toy Story. Now, everyone has that one movie in their lives that defines them and their life, to be honest. For me, it is the first Toy Story. The earliest memories I can have as a kid was just watching this movie on VHS tape. May I mind you, I watched this over and 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 over again. And my mom is still to this day surprised that I didn't wear out the VHS tape because of how much I would rewatch this. Just the earliest memories I have is just getting absolutely immersed into the world, playing with the toys, try to recreate the movies with the toys. I just loved this thing as a kid. I thought it was literally the greatest thing I had ever seen in my life. And now 20 years later, I still think it's the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. It is still my favorite movie of all time, even rewatching this. For the God knows how, what time it is now that I've watched this, it's still an amazing movie. It is truly one of the greatest accomplishments in film history. It truly, honestly is. This movie is absolutely phenomenal in every sense of the word. It is absolutely fantastic. I love this film to this day, honestly. I love this movie to death, still to this day. It is absolutely incredible. And there's a lot of things I could talk about with this movie. Trust me, I could write a whole 500-page novel going by each scene, talking about how perfect this movie is, but we ain't got time for that, so I'm going to try and compress it a little bit. So, the animation firsthand, it's amazing how this animation still holds up after almost 25 years, to be honest. It still looks absolutely incredible. The toys look fantastic. Just the world that Pixar built with this is amazing. And I love the variety of toys and just everything in this movie. It's so fantastic. I just love how beautiful this movie looks. It looks incredible. I love the look of this film so much. The animation still, to this day, is the best animation I've ever seen for an animated film. It is just absolutely incredible, and just how immersive you can get into this world is absolutely incredible. Like, just, when I was a kid, I was just so taken in, like, literally the moment I saw this movie for the first time. And even still to this day, I still get immersed into this world because Pixar just does a great job of just taking you into that world and really making you feel immersed in it. The voice cast for this is the greatest voice cast I've ever seen for a movie. Literally, everyone is fantastic. Like, literally everyone plays their part to perfection, honestly. Like, literally everyone is, like, perfectly cast in this movie. Like, honestly, like, I cannot imagine any other actors playing these characters because they were literally, like, perfect, honestly. Like, Don Rickles as Mr. Potato Head. He's great. Like, I love him in this movie. Like, he does such a fantastic job. Like, Jim Varney as Slinky the dog. Like, he's great. Like, the casting choices here are so fantastic. And of course, the two greatest casting choices of all time, Tom Hanks and Tim Allen as Woody and Buzz Lightyear. The greatest duo of all time. Like, honestly, just the chemistry that these two have, it's fantastic. I love the chemistry between Tom Hanks and Tim Allen in this film, and I just love seeing the banter between the two of them because, at the start of this movie, they both hate each other. They do not like each other, especially Woody. Woody hates Buzz with a burning passion, and, when we just see their friendship evolve throughout the movie, because when they eventually do get lost, they have to basically depend on each other to get out of there, and, it's really great. Like, I love how they develop their relationship in this film. I really like how they, develop both Woody and Buzz here because, Woody can be looked at as a jerk in this film, because, he's trying to sabotage Buzz, he just really wants Andy all to himself. You can't really blame Woody at the same time, though, because literally his life is, like, changing before his eyes, and he just doesn't like it. Like, he just feels like he's just being put on a shelf now just because this new cool toy is coming and, like, pretty much ruined his life. And, and you kind of feel bad for him, honestly, because still one of the most depressing scenes I think I've ever seen in a movie is that whole strange things are happening in the montage where we just see just his whole, where, Andy's playing with Buzz more, and Woody is just getting so upset by it, and, we see his room changing from all Woody stuff to, like, Buzz Lightyear stuff. It's, like, really, like, depressing to watch because, and then Woody's just like, man, I'm nothing anymore. Like, and just, like, it's sad, honestly, and, like, it's just really tough to watch. And even when it comes to, and then he always gets frustrated because Buzz thinks he's an actual space ranger, and Woody's trying to explain to him, no, you're just a toy, and it's, like, really frustrating him as well with that, with Buzz not coming to the realization that, he's not a space ranger, he's an actual toy. And, we see that too, and I like Buzz's character a lot in this film too. I love how naive he is in this movie. Like, he legitimately thinks he's an actual space ranger. Like, like, it's funny to watch because he's trying to act like an actual space ranger, but in reality, he's just a regular old toy. And, and it's also depressing when he comes to the fact of that. When, when he's in, Sid's house and he sees that commercial of the Buzz, action figures, and he comes to the realization, wow, I'm actually not a space ranger. But he, he's like, no, I am a space ranger. And, when he tries to fly out the window, he just fails. And then he just goes into a depressive state. Like, it's tough to watch, honestly. And, when he's strapped to the rocket, he's just kind of like, he doesn't even do anything. He's just like, what was the point of my life? I'm not an actual space ranger. Like, just what's the point? And, I love that scene between the two of them when, they're, right before, Buzz, Sid takes Buzz with the rocket. I love the scene between the two of them where they just start talking. Woody's like, why wouldn't anybody like you? You're Buzz Lightyear. You have everything. And and then Woody's just like, I don't know, like, as a matter of fact, you're too cool. Like, all I could do is just pull a string. Like, I just love that scene between the two of them. You know what I mean? Like, and just showing how important the two of them are to Andy's life, and I really just like that a lot. Honestly, like, that's definitely like one of my favorite scenes in the whole film. Well, to be fair, every scene in this movie is like my favorite scene in the whole movie, but I digress. But like, I just love the scene between the two of them. I think it's really great. I really love how they do that in this film. And I just love the humor with this film so much. Still to this day, this movie makes me laugh hysterically. Like, I've seen this movie God knows how many times, and I still laugh hysterically all the time during this. Like, there are moments in this film where I just crack up. Because it's so funny. Like, when Rex tries to scare Woody, and he's like, roar! And like, Woody's like, hey Rex. And then Rex was like, did I scare you? Did it work? Like, there's so many funny moments in this film, honestly. Like, I can't count just how many funny moments are in this film. Like, the humor is great, honestly. The music is fantastic. Oh, man. Randy Newman does such a great job with not only the score, but the songs that he performs in this movie as well. Like, it just fits with every scene it's presented in. Like, I generally love the score and the soundtrack to this film. It's definitely one of the best, not only in the anime genre, but just in film in general, in my opinion. And the pacing's great, too. This movie moves at such a, like, fast, natural pace, honestly. Like, I don't know if it's just because I've seen the movie so many times, but, like, this movie never stops. No, it never does. Like, it just keeps going and going and going, and I love that. It just, you're always feeling excited throughout the entirety of the film. But there's no other scene that you feel more excited towards than that damn finale. That's still, to this day, the best finale I've ever seen to a movie. Okay? I might be a little bit biased because it's my favorite movie, but I don't care. It's my favorite finale to any film. Just seeing that, it's intense, okay? It's intense as hell. Like, Woody and Buzz need to try and get back to Andy before they go into their new house. Like, it's just, so many great stuff happens in that scene. Like, when the toys are, like, beating on Woody, when Woody's trying to get Buzz, on the RC car, like, it's great. Or, when they're trying to hold on to Slinky, like, oh, man, I just love it. And then just that fine, and when, RC runs out of batteries, they need to come up with the second plan. Like, and, they use Buzz's rocket, and, Woody's like, wait a minute, I just lit a rocket. Rockets explode, and then it just explodes, and they just go flying. Like, Woody's face is all, like, getting jumbled up. Like, they just go flying. Probably the funniest moment in the whole film is when RC, like, gets, they let go of RC, and, everyone's, take cover, and then Mr. Potato Head, his eyes just go, uh-oh, and then it just hits him, like, it's probably the funniest moment in the whole film. And then, I love that, this part right here, and Woody's like, we're going to explode, and, Buzz is like, not today, and he just takes out the wings, and, the rocket goes up, explodes. And, man, it's just, and they're flying, Woody's going, Buzz, you're flying! And, this isn't flying, it's falling with style. And it's just, I love that shot. Just that shot of them flying. Beautiful cinema right there. Like, that is what cinema is about, okay? Oh, man, like, this movie's just so perfect. It really is. This movie is just, it's perfection, honestly. I could talk about this movie all day and how much I love it, but I got two other movies to talk about, so I probably should wrap this up a bit. But overall, it's my favorite movie of all time. Like, what else can I say about it that I haven't said already over the years that I've had this YouTube channel for? But I just love this movie to death. There's no other film on the face of this planet that I love more than this film, and I don't think there will ever be a movie that I love more on this planet than this film right here, because it's perfect. Honestly, it's literally the definition of perfection, honestly, and, I never get tired of it. Like, honestly, I could watch this movie, like, 3 times in one day, and I still will not get sick of it. Honestly, like, I always have to make sure that I rewatch this movie at least once a year, because I just need to be reminded of just how great this movie is and just how important this movie is to my life, to be honest. Because there's just nothing, like, nothing in general that I cherish, like, hold close to my heart, or means, like, so much to me than this film, honestly. Like, this is the thing in my life that means the most to me, is this film, to be honest. Like, because it's just literally just defined who I was from the get-go, to be honest. Like, literally the moment I came onto Earth. Like, it means that much to me. Like, I love this movie a lot, and, it's just perfection. Still, like I said, to this day, it's still my favorite movie of all time, and I feel like that's never going to change. Alright, so Toy Story was a monster success. It just succeeded, like, everyone's expectations. Like, it was a monster hit. It was everywhere now. You would see Woody and Buzz everywhere. Like, just this movie was a massive, massive success. Like, it became now one of the most, not just recognizable animated films, but just one of the most recognizable movies ever. Like, honestly, like, what child did not see Toy Story from, like, 1995 onward, honestly? Like, it just became a staple. And many people were wondering, is there going to be a Toy Story 2? Are they going to make a sequel to this? And the process of making this sequel is kind of a pain in the ass. For one, the studio didn't know if most of the cast would return. It was going to be straight to DVD at first. Half of the footage for the movie got deleted. Luckily, someone had a backup file, but that was a scary thing. But most of the cast did return. The story was good enough to make it a theatrical release. So, they were able to do this sequel. And that's how Toy Story 2 was born. And Toy Story 2 means just as much to me as the first movie. I did watch this just as much as I did the first movie as a kid. And also, this holds a special place in my heart because it came out the year I was born, 1999. And now, according to my mother, I can't remember this because I was only 7 months old when the movie came out. But apparently I did see it in theaters. So, so this movie does hold a special place in my heart because of a lot of those things. And because it's a fantastic sequel. It is, without question to me, the best animated sequel of all time. I still think there hasn't been an animated sequel that really tops Toy Story 2 for me. Honestly, I think it is an absolutely brilliant sequel, and it just not only manages to be bigger in scale than the original, but also manages to be deeper, honestly. There's a lot of things that they go into this movie, especially when it comes to the character of Woody. Woody gets thrown and, he gets taken by the, Mr. Al of Al's Toy Barn, the boy. And, he gets taken there and he realizes, he sees these other toys, Jessie, Bullseye, Stinky Pete, but he realizes he was a part of a huge cultural TV series, called Woody's Roundup, and that was his gang. And he realizes how big of a star he was. And, he starts, at first he's like, I need to get back to Andy, but then, Stinky Pete is like, how much longer until Andy, wants to play with you? You think he's gonna take you to college or on his honeymoon? Like, and he starts having that conflict, like, oh, he's actually right, like, what am I gonna do then? You know what I mean? It's such a great complex narrative, and I love it. I love seeing that in this film. And, it was just a little taste of what we were gonna get in the future, and I love that. That's how you sprinkle stuff in. That's how, you sprinkle stuff in for what could be in the next installment. And that was great. I loved how they did that. And, when, and one of my favorite scenes, maybe my favorite scene in the whole film, is, because Jessie at first was really angry with Woody with the fact that he wants to get back to his owner so badly. And you're kind of like, why is she so angry towards him? And then you find out in that scene, she loved me scene that, man, that is definitely the most emotional I think I've ever been towards that scene, to be honest, because it's so heartbreaking to watch, It's like if the Strange Things sequence was like 10 times more depressing than it already was. Because we just, see that, Jesse, had, this owner named Emily, and they were friends and all, and then he just grew up and just didn't want to play with her anymore. And it was just, it's depressing to watch, honestly, and Woody's like, I'm sorry. Like, and it's really emotional to watch. And then I just love that narrative in this film. And then when Buzz, confronts him about it, like, you're really just gonna leave Andy like this? You once told me that there's nothing more than, like, a kid's love for their toy. And I just loved seeing that, because it was just like, seeing, Woody give the speech to Buzz in the first movie, and then, in Toy Story 2, Buzz has to do the same for Woody. And it's really fantastic. And then, Woody comes to his senses like, what am I doing? Like, and then I love that. And, I love this one line where Stinky Pete's like, where are you going? You said, Andy's gonna, grow up someday, but I want to be there for every moment of it. And it's so fantastic. I love it, because it shows that Woody just would do anything for Andy. And we'll see that even more in Toy Story 3 when we get to that. But I just love that, because that's just how much love he has for this damn kid, and I just love that so much. And I love the new additions here. Like, Jessie is great. I love her. Bullseye is probably the greatest horse of all time, and Stinky Pete is a great villain. I enjoy him. I enjoy these characters a lot. Even some of the, when we get to see the older editions, like Buzz and the gang. Like, I loved seeing their adventures. Buzz and the gang, like, them trying to go and find Woody. Like, that has some of the funniest moments in the whole film, and just the whole trilogy in general. Like, the one joke, okay, who's behind? Mine. And then we see Slinky's butt come in. Like, it's just, like, stuff like that is hilarious. Like, the whole, crossing the street sequence, or Buzz versus Buzz. Oh, I love this. This was one of my favorite things about the whole film. So Buzz finds himself literally in Al's Toy Barn. This kind of much more upgraded version of him. And he's acting like an actual space ranger. This much more upgraded version of Buzz, and Buzz is like, was I really this naive? And it's amazing, like Buzz actually get to see how much of just a complete dummy he was in the first movie, because it's great. I love it. And then we see the two of them fight. I always laugh when the much more upgraded Buzz throws him into this chalk thing. I'm not so sure what it is, but Buzz makes this face like it's just, I don't know why, it always makes me laugh every time I see it. But and he basically gets to stop being out of him and stuff. But it's fun. It's a fun sequence. I love seeing them interact with each other. And then Rex always tried to find a way to defeat Zurg with, may I mind you, this might be my favorite opening sequence in the entire trilogy. I love that opening sequence where, Buzz is in space, and, you think it's a real thing, but, it turns out it's just a video game, but it still was badass. But, and then, my favorite scene, but you killed my father. No, Buzz, I am your father. No! Funny story with that. When I watched The Empire Strikes Back for the first time, and the whole, no, I am your father scene, the scene. When that came on, I literally went to my mom. Mom, did The Empire Strikes Back rip that off from Toy Story 2? Because that's the first time I had ever seen that scene was in Toy Story 2. I don't know, I just find that funny. But, there's just so many great things about this. The animation's great. Like I said, this is much bigger in scale than the original. And I love how it looks. I love the environments that they go into this film. I love the look of Al's Toy Barn a lot. I just love the look of this movie so much. It's definitely expands the world a lot, and, shows a lot more. I like that because, they were able to expand more with this one. And I liked seeing that, and it's absolutely fantastic. This movie is just absolutely incredible. Toy Story 2 is, man, what a great sequel. And that finale. That finale is fantastic. I love that finale. Definitely the best finale that involves a plane I've ever seen in my life. I love that finale. So incredible. And then towards the end we get, it's so fantastic. This movie's great. It's just one of the best sequels of all time, honestly. It's a perfect sequel. It does everything that it's supposed to do, Try to make it bigger than the original. They do that, and while I don't, prefer it over the original, I could definitely see how people can, because it's just a fantastic sequel and it's amazing. I literally love every minute of this film. It is still, without question, to me, the best animated sequel we have ever gotten, and I don't think there will ever be one that will beat this for the best animated sequel of all time. So, for years, I would always wonder why there was never a Toy Story 3. Because for one, the first two were really successful and popular and stuff like that. So I always wondered why Pixar never capitalized and made a third one, you know? And I always wondered for years and always wanted it for years. And at a time, I kind of just gave up on Toy Story 3. I was like, if they haven't made it now, I don't think they'll probably ever make it. So I just kind of gave up hope on a Toy Story 3. Then, I went to the theater for my 10th birthday in 2009 to go see Up. And, we're sitting there waiting for the movie to start. The previews come up. The last preview they show was a teaser trailer for Toy Story 3. I lost my damn mind. I was like, oh my god, it's finally happening. It's going to actually happen. Toy Story 3 is going to be an actual thing. Oh my, I can't wait. I was just excited as hell. Because I've been waiting for this for, ever since I watched the first two. I was just so excited. It is still, to this day, probably was the most anticipated movie of my life. I was just so excited to see it. Then, June 18th, 2010, opening day. Saw it right there. Opening day in theaters. Probably the greatest theater experience ever, honestly, for me. It was amazing. Just getting to see those characters on the big screen for the very first time, because the first two had been with me since the beginning of my life. And, just getting to see those characters on the big screen was just such an amazing moment for me. And I thought it was incredible. And also really helps that this movie was fantastic as well. So, yeah, Toy Story 3 is the perfect conclusion to the perfect story. I really do think so, honestly. This is how I feel like every movie series, if they want to end their franchise, they should really take note on this, on how to end it, because this does it so perfectly, honestly. This is probably the most deep and emotional film I think I've ever seen in my whole life, honestly. And it just hits you on every level, to be honest. What I noticed on this rewatch is that hardly is there any comedy in this movie, to be honest. This is without question the most serious one out of the three. And given what it's talking about and what themes it's following, it is it needed it. It needed to be this serious. It needed to be, and it really needed to be, honestly, because they're dealing with their owner, Andy growing up and moving on with his life. And that's a very difficult thing we all deal with in life, and, something we all have to deal with at some point, and this movie does it perfectly. And, we got hints of it in Toy Story 2, the prospector being like, what are you going to do when Andy goes off to college or goes off to his honeymoon? What are you going to do when he grows up? And basically that idea is put into full display in this movie. And it's amazing. I loved seeing it. It was done extremely, extremely well. And what makes it even more depressing is that, in the opening, after that incredible, incredible, epic opening sequence, we see just Andy playing with his toys on, this home video kind of setting thing. And it's amazing. I love that. And then, it's playing You've Got a Friend in Me, and, at the end when, of the song where he goes, our friendship will never die, it just fades to black, and we just see them in the toy crate. And it's just man, this is actually happening, isn't it? It's so sad to see. And, it does it really well. I think, honestly, I think I gotta really condemn Pixar for making, this work so well. You know what I mean? Especially for like the first two that relied very heavily on comedy. The first one, obviously, it's definitely the funniest of the three. The first one, because that's the one that definitely heavily relies on comedy the most out of the three. Two, there's definitely comedy in there, especially in the final act. But you could tell that they were trying to lean in more into a serious direction, especially with playing with those themes. And here, it just goes full on. And, I do think they do a pretty fantastic job with that in this film. And seeing these characters in pretty much a depressive state because of this is really emotional to watch. And this is affecting no one more than I think than Woody, to be honest. Because he's trying to just hold on to Andy. And that's what I have loved about this trilogy the most. Woody's loyalty to Andy. He just does not give up on this kid, and I think that is amazing, because that's his best friend. That's literally, like, his best friend right there, and it's amazing. Like, he just doesn't want to give up. Like, he's fine. I feel like he's finding it the most difficult out of all of them to move on, because, like I said, that's his best friend, and now he's going away to college. Sure, he wants to take him with him, but even he feels like, you gotta move on, and it's tough, honestly. And I really thought they did a great job with that, with all the characters here. Even though this movie's very serious, it still has that very fun Toy Story adventure that you do get in this movie with, Sunnyside Daycare, Lotso Hungee Bear, who I still think is probably the best villain of the entire Pixar catalog. I just think he's a great villain, honestly. Feels like a legitimate threat to toys and stuff like that. I think they did a great job with his character. And you still get that sense of adventure with that. And especially helps that this movie is, as of right now, the biggest scaled Toy Story film. Like, honestly, it's so big in scale, this film. There's so many locations that they use, and it just looks amazing. I love the atmospheres that this movie builds and where they go into this movie. Like, I love it, honestly. It's definitely, without question, the biggest in scale of the original three, to be honest. Like, it does such a fantastic job with that. Honestly, each movie gets bigger than the last, and that's what I've always loved. Pixar tries to, with each Toy Story film, try to be different and try to be bigger than the last, and they definitely certainly do that here with Toy Story 3. I do think they do an absolutely fantastic job with that. And, the animation still looks fantastic. I absolutely love the animation with this film. I think it looks absolutely beautiful. And yeah, I just love the animation a lot with the film. This movie, like, look, as a kid, obviously I was only 11 with this movie, and when this movie came out, so I couldn't really relate to the whole growing up part just yet. Rewatching this movie now as basically a 20-year-old man, it just hits on a whole different level, because it's just like, it does. Like, honestly, like, I think this is the most emotional I think I've ever had watching this movie, to be honest, because it's just like, it's so tough. Like, there's so many scenes in this movie, like, it just hits you, man. The scene where, like, Andy's mom, realizes, like, oh, you're really going off to college, huh? Like, it's so tough to watch. Like, and you see her crying, and, like, Andy's like, it's okay, Like, it's just so, oh, man. Like, it just, honestly, because it's just, like, it's like we've grown up with Andy, too. Like, he's, like, he almost feels like our kid, too. Like, you know what I mean? It's tough to see, Like, just he's grown up, and now he's moving on with life, which happens with all of us, and it's really, it's a tough thing to deal with, but it happens. It's life. And that's exactly what this movie shows you. And then, of course, when you get to that ending where it's, just there is nothing in the movie that has made me more emotional and has made me cry harder than that ending to this movie. Just, seeing Andy, give away, pretty much what was his life to, Bonnie now, who is going to take very good care of the toys. Just him giving the description of all the toys and stuff like that. And then I love this moment where he sees, Bonnie goes, that's my cowboy doll, and, he's like, oh, what are you? And he looks in the box and he sees Woody. And when, he picks up Woody, Bonnie tries to grab him and he's just like, no. Like, I just love that. Just the hesitation he has. He's just like, I don't want to give this one up. Like, because, like I said, Andy and Woody have been the best of friends. You know what I mean? And just that whole speech he gives him about how he is so loyal and how, he'll never give up on you is fantastic. Because it is the truth. In all three of these movies, Woody has never given up on Andy. That's why, in the first movie, that's why he's so upset when, he starts playing with Buzz more and starts, changing things with Buzz and stuff like that. Because he feels like, does he not love me anymore? Because, that's his best friend. Or in the second movie, he even says, regardless of if he rips me apart or, or grows up and wants to, I want to be there with him every step of the way. And it's just so amazing. And just his loyalty to Andy is such a beautiful thing. And he do such a fantastic job with that. And, it's so great. And it just makes you so emotional. And then when you see Andy having one last playtime with those toys, it's just, it's fantastic. And then, of course, just that ending where, you see all the toys, and, Andy goes, thanks, guys. And then they all just rise up, and Woody goes, so long, partner. Greatest final words ever. And it's just, it closes the book on just a perfect story. And never have I felt more satisfied with an ending to a series in my entire life. Because honestly, this was no easy way of saying goodbye. And it still isn't to this day, to be honest. I know we're getting a Toy Story 4, and I'm very, very excited about that. But this was the great closing chapter to Andy's story. And he did such a fantastic job with that, honestly. Just the way that they wrapped everything up with Andy's story was great. I couldn't have asked for a more perfect ending. Honestly, it's a blessing in disguise that this movie came out. That took so long for this movie to come out, honestly. Because it's just the way that they handled it and the way that they just wrapped this entire storyline up was perfect. Toy Story 3 is, without question, the best third installment to any film series, and it is the greatest ending to any series, trilogy, whatever you may have. It's perfect. And I absolutely love this film, and it's fantastic, honestly. And it still strikes a chord with me even more now than ever. And that's it. That is my retrospect of the Toy Story trilogy. I would like to thank you all for watching this. I'm having a lot of fun with these retrospect videos, honestly. These are a lot of fun. I think this is the most fun I've had making videos in a while, to be honest. I just love these. These are just so great, like getting to watch one movie, and then later on making the video and then watching another, and then just compiling it all together. Like, it's so much fun. Honestly, it really is. Like, it's so much fun. I love it, and it's been a great time. And it was extra special this time around because I got to talk about pretty much my favorite thing in the entire world, the Toy Story trilogy. And, I just love this trilogy so much. I love talking about it. I never get sick of talking about it, honestly. It's the thing that means the most to me, honestly. People have like the MCU or the Star Wars movies or the Lord of the Rings movies or Harry Potter films. For me, that's what the Toy Story trilogy is. It's the one that I've always hold closest to my heart. It's the one that I always come to, if I just want to be in a good mood. I just always put on one of these movies, because they're all so great in their own ways too. That's what I love about them. They're all great in their own ways. You know what I mean? And there's no, they're all just perfect in their own way, honestly. It is literally the perfect trilogy, honestly. It is what every trilogy should aspire to be, honestly. This is literally the perfect trilogy, and I don't think there will ever be a trilogy that comes close to this one, to be quite honest. There won't be ever any film, honestly, that just comes close to any of these movies for me. They're just the ones that I love the most and the ones that I just cherish the most, honestly. And, I always, I always just get so happy whenever I get the chance to talk about these movies, because that's just how much they mean to me, honestly. There's no other set of characters that mean more to me than Woody, Buzz, Jesse, Bullseye, Mr. Potato Head, Rex, Slinky the dog, Mrs. Potato Head, the aliens, Bo Peep, Andy. I can keep going and going and going, but there's just no set of characters that mean more to me than the characters of Toy Story. And I don't think there will ever be characters that mean more to me than those characters. Man, what just a fantastic trilogy, honestly. So great. Well, now I lead the question to you. What is your favorite of the Toy Story trilogy? Please leave in the comment section below. And also, what did you think of this retrospect? Also leave that in the comment section below. And I'm FilmFan0599. And remember, to infinity and beyond.